Guy, I'm really sorry to take you out of your bounce, turn up goon cave that you had. But it's an important time for St Kilda. Got the draft next week. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling nervous.
Nervous?
I don't think any Saints fan goes into a draft feeling confident. I don't know if any fan goes into a draft feeling confident. Maybe if you're Hawthorn or Sydney or someone like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, I'm looking forward to what we've got planned today. Yeah.
It's all right. So you're not feeling confident. Well, we've got a man here, a special guest, our first ever special guest on the Sad Saint Love podcast. But Dill, how are we feeling? How's
feeling pretty good. Like
you're popping off everywhere.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with the draft. I'm getting phone calls and people are slipping into my DMs.
Yep.
Everyone wants draft info for some reason. So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind. Kind of got into it this year and found myself on your podcast.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. If you don't know who this is Dylan Alexander. He has risen to the top, to the number one draft pick in the draft community. How long have you been doing draft content for?
Since the start of this season.
Start of this year. And you've already got, nearly 3K followers on YouTube?
Yeah, just under. Yep.
Yeah, so you have risen. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. Really good to be here. But yeah, it's kind of just, like I said, it's popped off. We just sort of started going to the games. I've always been a bit of a football fan and yeah, we're here now. The draft's here and just hoping to kind of put out some good content ahead and everyone's pretty excited as I expect you guys are.
Yeah. I mean, we'll do a quick recap of the Saints off season. We've delisted half our team.
Clean out, yeah.
Correct.
Yep. Josh Battle left, but we did get pick 8 in return, thanks to Bassett having a nice speech at the BNF.
That was afterwards, wasn't it? Oh, no, it was a few days before.
That was a few days before, tactically. Yeah, forced the AFL's hand.
Do you buy into the rumour that the AFL might have, I don't know, given us a little bit of an extra concession based on our Bassett's pestering?
So I definitely think that Bassett, that was his plan.
Yes.
He was playing politics for sure.
Yes.
Whether the AFL actually acted upon that, I don't know. It's such a random, this, they talk about the secret sauce without how they give out those picks.
No one actually knows, do they?
No, it's sort of in some ways it kind of feels to me like if you're a smaller team, you're one of those smaller Victorian teams, they will be a little bit easy on you. As a North fan, we got that McKay pick 3. Obviously we were in all sorts of crap at that point, but I don't know. I don't reckon the AFL actually acted upon that, but that was certainly the intention.
Yeah, but the way he was framing it as well, it sounded like he's been, and stuff we've actually heard, he's been at it for months, the whole year. So maybe there was a bit of, I don't know, the AFL might have had that in the back of their minds.
He was probably pestering them.
I reckon he was outside AFL house with his little picket sign saying, give us pick 8.
Do you guys rate that as Saints fans, that sort of getting in the face?
I did rate it because I watched the whole thing. That clip of him saying, we are just, everyone else is, the small Victorian clubs are left to fend for ourselves. That was the clip that got posted and every comment was just classic St Kilda whinging. You've never won anything. I was like, well, he acknowledged at the start that it is our own fault.
I remember that. I remember the major comment I kept seeing was the AFL didn't make you select.
Yeah.
Who's the player you selected over the Bont?
Billings.
That's right. Yeah. That was the one doing the rounds. But I actually, as a neutral fan, as a fellow fan of a small Victorian team, I kind of rated it.
Yeah.
I would have been happy.
So we've also picked up McRae from the Bulldogs. And we've also surprisingly, not really surprisingly, because his name's Jack and he's from Carlton. But we picked up Jack Carroll from Carlton. Yep. I know nothing about him because I don't know if you know this deal, I hate Carlton with an absolute passion. Fair. So I don't watch them. Well, if I do watch them, I don't try to pay too much attention. Do you know anything about Jack Carroll and what he can bring?
I mean, I watched a few Carlton games. I thought he caught my eye a couple of times as a sub.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's a bit of a sort of midfield / half forward flanker. Kind of gets up to stoppage. He pretty much the same as you. The things that I've seen of him, he does some nice things. He's got a little bit of nip, bit of speed. So
it was a big slider in his draft year, I remember.
Yes, yeah. And is he going to move the needle for the Saints?
No.
Probably not. But he might end up being an able sort of depth player as well. The one that I dislike of the players that you guys brought in is definitely the McRae one. I don't get that play at all.
I think you have Crouch, who we said we were going to re-rookie him, but I think the jury's still out. So I think he's just a Crouch replacement where Jack Steele needs as much help as he can possibly get.
Do you need a Crouch replacement though?
Crouch was good.
In 2020, I think the standard is 2023 Crouch. He was quite underrated across the comp. He was very effective 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did. He did have a good back end of that season, didn't he? But
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that type of player, just that accumulator that just sort of,
I think we do. We just lack that. There's no blokes who can just get their hands on the footy through. Our midfield's extremely weak.
You did struggle. I remember looking at the stats of St Kilda. You massively struggle at getting your hands on the footy. Your clearance profile's pretty shot. All of your scoring impetus kind of comes off the halfback line.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's quite a bruising position to play is the ball pig. So I think it allows
ball pig.
It is.
Do you reckon they called that within four walls?
Ross definitely.
Ross is calling out.
Ross is calling everyone
the ball pigs on the Monday review.
I'm stealing that. Yeah. I'm definitely stealing that.
So I think it at least allows for 2 or 3 years while we have pick 7 and 8.
I don't think for me it's got to be over the next 18 months McRae oversees the transition to the next generation of the St Kilda midfield. That's what I see his role.
I suppose where I'm going with it is you kind of want your ball pig to be have a bit of explosive pace as well, and kind of can get you up the field that way, and not just be McRae.
McRae's an odd one. Apparently he's never been able to run a 2K time trial.
Yeah.
But also 2-time All-Australian midfielder.
I was going to say, it's not bad for a dual horse.
He does though. He represents the old style of football, doesn't he? That sort of 2010s, big accumulator, 35 touches. You think back to when Tom Mitchell won the Brownlow.
Yeah.
He's that sort of type, right? He doesn't have the extra bit of athleticism that some of these modern stars are having. You even probably what Dusty did. He's a little bit further back, but Harley Reid, Jason Horne-Francis, those types of players.
Yeah, I think on the flip side of that, he does have, I said, reasonably damaging by foot, if you'd agree with that. I've heard mixed reviews.
Over 20 metres, yeah.
Over 20, yeah. No, he's got a bit of penetration when he puts the laces into it, I reckon.
I feel like I've hit a nerve here with McRae.
All right.
No, yeah. You're outnumbered.
We're here to talk.
We're talking draft, aren't we?
We're here to talk about, you're a fan of North Melbourne. You're a fan of a fellow bottom dweller, right? It's our grand final. It's draft time, right? I have a big opinion. We were discussing this before. Okay. We're not going to use both 7 and 8. We're going to use 7, but pick 8, we're going to do something fruity with it. Sauce has his fingers tingling, I reckon.
So I did a mock draft recently, part 1 and part 2, and I had the same. So I did have the Saints trading out with GWS. They send pick 7 or 8. I guess they could also do a deal if you don't select this guy with the team that trade. If it's the Giants, they trade in. So I had them splitting that pick. What I'm sort of struggling to see across and this is holistically across the entire draft, any team that wants to split Saints and get their hands on more picks, they're having to pay a serious premium for it. So I don't know if the Giants are just in a really unique position. They really want to get inside that top 10.
Why would they want to do it? Yeah.
That's the question. And I know that the Giants are super hot on Xavier Lindsay and the Gippsland Power. They like to draft those types, those running country players and those running types. He's a really good endurance athlete, pretty good ball use. And they've obviously had a big midfield exodus as well. So it's I don't know, it's so touch and go. I feel all of the mail on those kind of picks, the same with North wanting to split pick 2. It's it's all coming from North and the team on that end.
Yeah.
And the other teams actually aren't super, super keen.
My thing is, he did it last year. What Sauce does is he lies. He finds out what other clubs want and who they want. And he kind of goes, we're going to pick him.
He's sneaky.
Here's what he did last year. So we had the pick before Giants, and he must have gotten word to them that we wanted James Leake.
What did...
Quote unquote.
Because there was lots of mail that the Giants were linked to James Leake for a while.
Yeah.
And we were linked to Darcy Wilson for a while.
And then...
So from the outside, it's why someone's falling for someone's bluff here.
Because they didn't actually need to do it, right?
Neither of them needed to do it.
We were never picking James Leake because we said from the get-go all we wanted was run and, speed, and Darcy Wilson fits that profile. James Leake does not.
Darcy, I don't know, if you could make a player that was a Ross Lyon player, it's Darcy Wilson, right?
Yeah.
Off topic.
So anyway, my point still stands that...
Good topic.
Yes, Sauce will sauce it up.
You reckon? So he's going to get it done. Okay, so what is the deal?
I think it could be something along the lines of 8.32 for 15 and 16, or drop the 32, we go like 15, and they have 21 or something, don't they?
They've got 15, 16, 21.
Yeah, so it could be something along those lines.
Yep.
But so if I could put money on it, I would. We are not taking both 7 and 8.
Really?
Yeah.
What if the Giants are just adamant? They're adamant they don't want to do that. Is there any other deals that you can think of?
Is there any possibility of us giving 7 and our future first, the North's pick 2 and something else later?
I think that's definitely like that. That is another one on the cards. Now, what the mail on that has been that Richmond have said to North, if you do a deal with St Kilda, we'll take North are like hot as anything on Alex Tyree. And they've said, we'll take him at 6 if you try to do a deal with St Kilda. So they're
why?
I suppose to just like snooker North a little bit so that North is stuck into doing a really favourable deal with Richmond. And that's why that deal with North giving away a pick 2 and their future first round pick for say pick 6 and pick 11, something like that. So trading pick 2 and North Melbourne's future first, which is like probably going to be pick 2 or 3 you would think, for 6 and 11, which is pretty favourable for the Tigers. So they're kind of apparently going down that path.
I wish that was hard on other clubs with father-son bids. Do bring out some of the dirty tactics on that front.
How do you guys feel about the father-son? I've done a few videos on this recently.
I'm sick of them. I'm so done with them. Obviously, I'm biased because St Kilda
never get father-son.
We never get them in
Bailey
the first
Rice,
round.
thank you very much. Get his name on the lockers.
The superstar.
The punter.
So I've got a theory on father-sons that our type of clubs, the North Melbournes, the St Kildas, the father-sons that we even would have if they were available, they sort of walk away on us. Like we've had Josh Kelly, could have been a North Melbourne father-son.
Was he eligible?
Yeah. Nick Blakey, another one. So we lost all of those players. Like if you're a big club, players want to play for you. And if you're North, I mean, we haven't
even had the chance to test those waters. We've had Jake Bowie's dad played 85 games. For the Saints. Nearly made it to Jake Bowie. Joel Jeffrey's dad played for the Saints as well.
Noah Anderson's dad
played he played like 80 games.
No, he played 90 for us and like 89 for Hawthorn or something, like very close together, less than 10 games for either club.
Yeah.
It's funny, just circling back to the Bassett speech. It's funny how Collingwood fans were mainly the ones calling it out.
They like the father.
Funny how interesting.
I would love, while we're still on father-sons, I would get rid of them in the first round.
Okay, so you're in that boat.
I'm in that boat. Yeah. Because because they'll go back eventually, right? Nick Dacos gets drafted to North Melbourne 2 years when his first contract's up. The Collingwood have to give North Melbourne like an absolute swag of picks.
So you still get the currency.
You still get the currency, and that's where the currency comes from. It's much closer to the point system that we currently have.
So I'm in a weird situation with this topic. Like I hate I just can the father-son.
Yeah.
I just think it's like a stupid rule.
It is.
That's just my opinion on it. Like you randomly get a massive advantage for just some arbitrary reason. I kind of like the academies. And I do see that need in like the northern states to grow the game. And if you don't give the teams the players, then they're not going to invest in the academies. And that's the same with the NGAs. Like this year, they brought in the rule that it's inside the top 40.
Yep.
You can match a bid that you couldn't do previously, like your Cacos and stuff like that. So teams aren't going to invest in their NGAs if they can't actually match bids on them anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult part of the game and part of the growth of the game. So
I've got my thing to fix the academies, and you can tell me this is stupid. So I'll go back to last year's draft. So they had Gold Coast. They had about four kids in the top 25 or something like that.
Yeah, roughly.
So
30.
Who was the first one that you had? Was it Ethan Reid?
No, it was Jed Walter.
Jed Walter was the first one. So you can match that with whatever it is now. So or at least a pick in the same round. To fix it, I would go. So who was the next one?
Small one. Rogers.
Jake Rogers?
Jake Rogers.
So I thought was it Reid and then Rogers?
Okay, we'll just say it was Rogers.
Yeah,
we'll just say it was Rogers. Instead of the 20% discount, it's actually like almost like a 20% multiplier the other way.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
So something
so the price
you can,
stacks as
if you want them, It's actually the opposite. So instead of giving them a discount, do the opposite where you have to actually pay more.
Like who on earth came up with that rule of we'll give you a discount on it, so you have to pay less.
What are your thoughts as well on Northern Academy products like Sam Marshall this year, who plays a whole year in the Coates Talent League with all the other Victorian prospects because he's boarding in at whatever school?
So what's the do I have a problem with it? Or?
Yeah. Do you think he should still be eligible for the academy, given he's played a whole season with other Victorians?
Yeah, it's a bit like I don't know a lot of the mechanisms behind that, like what his decisions are to come to that school or
to play talent league. I
guess to play at the highest level. Because if he plays in the academy, he doesn't play. He only plays 4 games of talent league. Probably plays VFL a little bit. So. That's a tough one. Should they be eligible? I guess they've still put the work into them.
Yeah.
I probably don't have a strong opinion on that either way, but cool thread.
We're still on the fence there,
yeah. So going back to the draft, that's what we're here to talk about. Class, speed, size. They're the 3 key pillars, I reckon. What we desperately need.
Size.
Yeah.
Okay.
In what?
Mateus is still a beanpole. Garcia is 5'9". In terms of just our young mids, you have Windy.
No, Garcia is 6'1".
Yeah, but he looks small.
He does look small.
He does look very small.
I love Garcia. Sorry,
he's my favorite player almost. Yeah,
it was so funny. So I'm pretty into the draft, not as much as you. When his name was read, I had no idea who he was.
No, he didn't even make Metro.
Yeah,
really. Did you? I wanted to ask you. Yeah, was he on your radar at all last year?
No, so I wasn't doing this whole thing draft-wise. Like I've always had like an eye on the draft, but I wouldn't have honestly when his name got read out, I wouldn't have even known who he was. He was playing for the Calder Cannons, didn't make the Metro team. Like there wasn't really much about him. Like St Kilda just plucked him out and loved his attributes. Well,
because we actually traded up for him, and I think we traded ahead of Hawthorn. So I think Hawthorn were also onto him as well.
But you did that with Wilson as well. Like Wilson wasn't supposed to go that high as well.
Yeah, he was.
He was a little bit later. Like he was a little bit
Pick 18.
Yeah, but he was like closer to that 30 bracket for most people mocking it out.
Yeah, right.
And stuff like that. So I feel like St Kilda have tried to pivot a little bit from what the mainstream are doing in the
GWS tactic.
Pivoting is in like the type of players we're targeting, or
I think so. Like I definitely think with your like open draft picks, you're going for those like really high upside players with like an extra bit of athleticism, something that like an X factor, a POD that can kind of set them apart, and then you sort of bank on that larger group of like players like from the NGA where you can get a little bit of an advantage on the comp. And then you go for your like really high talent players with those. Because you're not a team like North where you've been down the bottom and you're getting pick 1 and pick 2. So you've got to try to compete somehow with those like really high caliber players.
Yeah. We've been stuck in that no man's land in the ladder. Yeah. I think we're just starting now over the past few years to kind of get it right and kind of understand what needs to happen.
Well, I think the Saints, their last probably 3 drafts have been, I would call them exceptional.
Yeah.
I think 22 is starting to look a bit shaky. We got Mateus, Ollie Houghton, Van Ness, and Keeler. So Keeler really has to come on. I think Mateus is a tick. I think we can pretty much say he's...
Again there though, like with that pick, with Mateus, like it's a high upside play.
Yeah.
They didn't go for the 180 centimetre ball winner.
Yeah.
They went for someone with a bit of height, bit of speed, that sort of thing. So...
So my opinion was we weren't going to trade up for pick 2. You mentioned that you still think that's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility, particularly, and this is where that we have to talk about those different types of midfielders. So you've got your Finn O'Sullivans, your Sam Lawlers, your Sid Draper, those types of players. That's someone I think St Kilda would actually make a trade, like lose one of their draft picks to kind of go for because that's the player they need. They're sort of in this weird space being at 7 and 8. Like it sounds amazing to have picked 7 and 8, but you start to get back from that top 3 or 4 players and they start to lose athletic attributes pretty quickly. They're good, high IQ players, but don't lack those qualities that you kind of said off the top.
Yeah.
The speed, the X factor.
Yeah, I think someone like a Finn O'Sullivan is the perfect prototype of who we need.
That's the player.
But I'm just of the opinion, I just don't think it's good. There's been less chatter now about us trading up.
Yeah, and there is still a conversation. Like I think there's a few players back like after 10 that St Kilda there'd be like a perception that you were reaching for them if you went for them. And they're probably a little bit more higher risk because they're, not putting up the numbers or whatever it is. They're not haven't had like the most amazing seasons. They might be a little bit more raw just from a footy perspective, but that's sort of where I see St Kilda going. Like maybe actually playing at least with one of those picks, and that, you know, there is still the opportunity they might split it, but they might like reach for someone with a bit more athletic ability. Like you look at players back in the teens, like Taj Houghton. I know you've just delisted his brother. I was clinging to that through the season. I'm like, Saints are going to draft Taj Houghton, but
I said on one of this was a bit mean. I said on one of our podcasts during the year they might high five each other going in opposite directions.
Jeez,
but do you reckon that affects our chances of drafting him?
People in my YouTube comments think so.
Negatively,
they're like, it's not happening.
It's not happening. Yeah, no, I'm one of those comments. Not really, but I'm one with those people. Like, if we do, I think the Houghton family would absolutely kill us. That they wouldn't.
Nah. I don't know. They know the family well, though. They would know Taj better than most other clubs.
I feel like it's at the end, like they would have to have some understanding that delisting a player, you're not unfairly firing them, are you? Like it's an elite sport at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We think.
So I'm going to try and manifest us trading up for pick 2 by not mentioning Lawler or Fino Sullivan a whole lot.
Okay.
So that way I can look like an idiot when we do it. I want to start with the 2 players who I think could slide, and that's Draper and Jagger.
Oh.
I think there's a world where either of them slide.
How far?
To 7.
To 7.
So in my head, so you got Richmond take, I think it's going to be Lawler.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty set in stone now. You have North don't deal, and they just take Taru. Taru.
That's fair.
Then you have Carlton who take one of them, and then I think it's Adelaide. I've heard are pretty big into Langford.
That's bizarre to me.
I don't get it either.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but there's some memory that they're really into him.
If they're running a midfield of Dan Curtin, who they've just been grooming into the midfield role all of last season, Jordan Dawson and Harvey Langford, like that's the most cumbersome, slow.
No, absolutely.
Big body midfield.
It's just the rumours on Big Footy. But like it isn't coming from just one person.
The source of truth.
Where there's
when there's so much. Number 5, that's Melbourne. Obviously, the Ashcroft bid will come in there somewhere.
Yeah,
but we don't.
I've kind of given up.
It doesn't matter.
Let's
5. The latest one is Smiley for Melbourne.
Okay,
and then 6 would be Armstrong for Richmond if they don't. If they.
Geez, that's high for Armstrong, I reckon. Yeah, keep going.
Then the 7 is where the Jagger or Draper, whoever Carlton don't take essentially.
Okay, so I particularly of those 2 players, Jagger and Draper, I can't see like Draper being the one that I can't see getting through because that burst of speed.
Yeah, the South Australian connection.
That's a fair point. If teams are scared off by that, you mean?
Yeah, or just for another reason for him not slipping past Adelaide's pick.
Do
you buy into that?
That they would.
They would. Yeah,
100%. Like for that one, like why when there's a player there like Draper that's that quality, and like I almost think he is. I talked about that big bodied midfield. Like he's the one with so much mobility. Like his turn of speed and his agility to get out of traffic's like unbelievable. Draper. Like I think early in the season he didn't do the combine, but he broke an agility test record. Like he's unbelievable with his turn. So. Yeah, I can't see a world where Draper gets past. I could see where he gets past Carlton, but he doesn't get past Adelaide, surely. Sorry to.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, break
that's why you're here. To debug Nathan's mock drafts.
I think with Draper, he really fits the mold of a Ross player. Elite work rate. You can't lay a tackle on him. Like the repeated sprints and efforts he does.
Yes.
Elite. He can obviously run all day, but he also can't hit the side of a barn door.
of those 3, like more kind of explosive players, like you look at Lawler, O'Sullivan, Draper with the speed. I would say Draper is the one too that he's like kind of more of a pure midfielder. So I'd say Lawler and Finn O'Sullivan have aspects to the game where like they're a little bit hybrid. They obviously run through the midfield, but they go forward. They've got that overhead game as well. They're a little bit more on that speed side where Draper's. He's probably been a guy that can more consistently show you that he gets like 25, 30 touches and is I don't know, like if to put a player on him, I would say something like a Caleb Sarong with like a little bit of an extra burst of pace.
Is he a bit handball happy?
Draper?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't love to put his foot through it. Like he's not, I'd say that's a weakness, his kicking. It's like, because he's pretty athletic, I think he can like get you forward. So like he'll break out a stoppage, give you that kind of deep entry and a dangerous entry, but like he can turn the footy over for sure.
The next two in a little like bracket I've got are like the Cripps type in Smiley and Langford. Talk to me about Smiley.
You've had some strong opinions on him, Nathan. Yeah. Just know beforehand. Nathan's got some strong. Wait, don't reveal them yet.
Yeah. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want me to like compare Langford and Smiley here? So I put Langford of the big bodied mid crew. I'd actually throw Bo Allen into this conversation too. Okay. I like to get the three of them because I reckon they're like on a spectrum.
See, he was in another bracket of mine. The halfbacks who've turned into mids. Almost.
Okay, fair. Yeah, he has.
We'll get to that.
His athleticism does give him that sort of versatility. But you've got Langford on the really high footy IQ end, but super unathletic. But he's strong, so he uses that like at stoppages when he's able to go forward, take marks. You got Smiley, who's like in the middle, where he's like reasonably athletic, like he's a bit quicker than Langford, can run a decent 2K time trial. My general issues with Smiley are I think he's like lacks a little bit of like resilience or something, like a little bit of competitiveness. Ooh. He doesn't, for someone that's like 194 centimeters, he doesn't like really like when he gets forward, he's not much of an aerial threat for somebody that big. And I think you'd want them to be, he's good at like blocking the ball at stoppages, like using his size to kind of give you first use. But like we were talking about him as a number one pick. Like I don't think you want to take a number one pick on that sort of player. The third on that spectrum is Bo Allen, who's just like he's big, like he's that 190 centimeter player, but he's also like super athletic. Like he can run a sub 3 second, 20 meter sprint, an awesome 2K time trial, running vertical jumps. He's smashing that kind of stuff. So he's like if he was the high footy IQ guy, he'd be the perfect package. Yeah. But he's probably a little bit more raw at the moment, like second takes when he's grabbing at the ball and stuff.
Yeah, I'd be a bit concerned with I've watched all his touches from the Waffle Grand Final he played in, and like he was incredibly athletic.
Yeah.
Like just really explosive, really fast, but just no craft.
Yeah, and he is a bit like that. Like he's sort of boisterous. Like his stoppage stuff, it's like he's keeping the ball in front of him, but he's not super, super clean.
And he's just beating blokes by just like standing next to him and just being quicker.
Yeah, 100%. And then particularly at that level. And that's where you've like, once you see the player actually play at AFL level, I certainly like, you don't see Harvey Langford play like that. Like he's super clean. And I say he's super unathletic. Like he can run, but just really slowly.
Yeah. I'm not for picking Langford for us at all. I don't think it works.
I know. Even though with my strong opinions on Smiley, I'd actually rather him over Langford. In terms of what we need.
Yes, I agree. And I like there is probably an argument as well that like because you've got Philippou in there already, like Allen and Philippou are kind of similar in a sense to me.
Allen's decision making, kicking, and his general decision making. I got some bad vibes watching his highlight package.
I think that's fair. Like they're fair takes because I have called him like a lower footy IQ player. I think his kick, like I think he's a good kick.
Oh, okay.
But he's
technically.
But then there's the decision-making aspect of that, which
that's one of two. It's 50%.
It's 50%
a pass.
I feel like again, if you're talking about that high upside player, the player that if you like back in your development, if you think you're a club that can develop a player and work with those deficiencies that he has at the moment, do you think are the Saints that team? I mean, you guys like of recent times.
Only because we've gotten a bit better.
Like this year we delisted half our team. We've also got rid of everyone
clear out
pre-2021.
Yeah, like for example, like Bo Allen, like wouldn't want him coming to North. Like don't want him anywhere near that place. Like, but
okay,
yeah.
The next on my list was Murphy Reid. I worry about him and his midfield capabilities at the AFL level.
Yeah, so like this has been a kind of long story with Murphy Reid in that Coates Talent League level, and to be fair on him, like national championships, which is the highest level really that these guys can play. Like he stepped up and played amazingly there, but there isn't a heap of athleticism in his game. Like not a lot of speed. He's mostly working on, would say that word again, like footy IQ. Like he knows where to run, knows how to find the footy, and he's such a good like 360-degree handballer.
I think he's going to end his career as one of those players where if you just watch his highlight reel,
yes,
you'll think he's the greatest player in the history of the game.
Yeah. And like you never know. I reckon this is probably one of the hardest types of players to gauge.
I've got a strong opinion on him.
Oh,
he's like my favorite.
Yeah, fair.
Again, I'm much more of a casual. I'm going from highlights.
But okay, when I first rocked up to the Coates League and watched him, I was in love. I was absolutely. It was when I kind of took that, you're sitting back and you're going, okay, like the game at the highest level, it's a lot more athletic. You can get shown up if you don't have that pace. Is all of those like the technical skills, like is his kicking and that handballing like really going to come off at the highest level? I think we've seen like with a player, if you're comparing him to like players in the AFL, like someone like a Sheasel.
Yeah.
And a
bit of Goulden maybe?
Yeah, a bit of that, like less speed.
Yeah.
I even think like a player for the Saints that people can relate to, like Jack Sinclair.
Oh, no, I've heard the other one is Hunter Clark.
Oh, that
people have said, and I'm like, no.
Is that just the headband?
No, but it's also like the silkiness.
Yeah, okay.
That's where people, they see the handballs over the head or the stuff that Hunter does, and they think, oh, immediately they're the same player. They're totally different.
That's the word. I think that's, and you see this in the draft conversation so much that people, they compare a player and then all of a sudden they have all of that player's flaws, all of their strengths. Like they're still different people at the end of the day. Like there's not, you can use it. I like to use it as saying to give people who like, are getting into the draft, you say he plays a bit like he has some of the attributes, but he's not making the same decisions. He's got the same brain.
There's nothing like putting pressure on 17-year-olds by comparing them to Dusty.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing about this time of year.
But I watched his highlights like 2 nights ago. I fell in love as well. Like because I had mostly heard that he's like the best handball in the draft. I was like, oh, that's not like that's not a label I want.
It's not sexy, is it?
No. But then his touch kicking as well.
Yeah.
And his like fleet of foot.
He reminds me of like I don't know if you guys are soccer fans at all. Like sort of that like deep lying midfielder that's just like flicking
sprayer.
The spraying balls.
Alcantara.
Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of player. Like that's Murphy Reid. Yeah. You just see him, he gets the ball in half back and he's got all the time in the world. And that's like I think I've heard the Pendlebury comparison as well. So he does have that like ability to be able to slow the game down a little bit. Like sometimes you see him like run through a stoppage. Like how did he get out of there? So yeah, I'm 50-50. Like I love the skills, but worry. Like I think when there's a flag, like the athleticism thing, you can use that to.
There's a flag on Sheasel's speed as well, wasn't there?
100%. Like, and that was seen as a bit of a risk. Again, like he was drafted as a small forward, and then went straight to the half back line where he'd never played, that's like I think that's the example of the high footy IQ player that just beds in at whatever level. It just seems to be able to step up, and we didn't get. I reckon it's a shame that we didn't get to see Reid play VFL. He was one of the only ones in that like top group that didn't play. Like I reckon he would have been awesome to see at that level, just to kind of see with the bigger bodies and stuff, if he still was able to like create like he does.
I think I wouldn't want to take him at 7, but my scenario happened where we split to 15, 16, I would take him at 15. That's where I would, if he slipped to there, I wouldn't want him to be my main man. I think Smiley, if he reaches that ceiling, he's going to be your main guy. I can't see like main guy energy for.
I do.
My worry is if you end up with like the Smiley pick there at 7, and like you look at your midfield and you've got like we don't know what Philippou's going to be like as a midfielder. We've seen a little bit at the back end of last year, but like other than that, he's sort of been a forward. And then you've still got Jack Steele there, and like have you recruited that game-breaking player? And you don't know.
I think we need someone with a bit more pop, bit of speed, out of congestion.
Maybe like a Draper.
I think someone like a Draper, a Bo Allen, or like I think ideally Fino Sullivan.
The upside of Bo Allen is really enticing, but also I feel like the floor is also quite low.
I think the floor is just another halfback flanker.
Yeah, but like with inherently poor decision making though, like you can't. Yeah, that's not quite one foot in both camps, kind of. But
but we are so used to midfielders who cannot hit a target at St Kilda.
True, we have plenty of mentors.
Yeah. If I throw in the Bontempelli comparison, does it tip you any closer to Bo Allen?
How is he? Explain that to me.
Just the sort of tall left footer, just a little bit hunchback.
The tall, and just the two things he can't control. Is the height and what foot he kicks with.
Is he Italian? Any Italian genes in there?
Don't think so. Don't think so. But that's I reckon I've heard 5 players this season while doing the draft be compared to Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah.
I heard Fino Sullivan being compared to Marcus Bontempelli the other day.
The one I remember being compared to Bont was Jack Scrimshaw.
Jack Scrimshaw?
Yeah.
Jeez. I didn't know. I never heard that one.
Now.
When was that?
2016, I reckon.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. We've touched on Allen. We'll go to the other like halfbacks turned mids that St Kilda are just obsessed with. Toby Travalia. I love him. If he's one of those players I wouldn't take him with at 7, but I would take him with 15 if he slipped.
Yeah. That's what I said. Like when I said off the top that the Saints are in this kind of like weird purgatory.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to take those guys with 7 and 8, but then they're probably gone at 15, 16. It feels like they're all going to like just
line up,
evaporate.
Yeah.
And then like our guys are all gone. Toby Travalia. Okay. Like he's again, like you talk about the prototype that Ross Lyon's going to love.
Yeah.
It's Toby Travalia, like super competitive, super hard worker. He's
big tank.
Yeah. Big tank. Like he looks, I was like, he ran, I think he ran second in the 2K time trial. And that's like, he sort of looks a bit like a 400 or probably like an 800 meter runner, doesn't he? Like he's that sort of vibe. Played a bit of VFL football, like did really well at that level. So I think with what we've seen with like the trajectory of some of those halfback flankers that have gone into the midfield, like Will Day, Travalia played a little bit of midfield for Bendigo and did quite well. Like where he doesn't have like the midfield nous of some of those other players. And I think that's why it's hard to select him with like a pick, like you said, like a pick 7 or 8. But again, if you rate your development and you think that he can get to those levels, like I don't see why you couldn't select him at that. I'd rather select Travalia like a nearly a 190 centimeter potential hybridy mid than a 180 centimeter mid that's slow.
Yeah, like if you can't get the deal you want for pick 7 and or 8, like just go with who you rate highest. Like in hindsight, when you look back at these things, like no one cares. No.
Everyone only cares about the outcome.
Yeah.
They don't really care if, in what's a good one, like the Richard Tambling draft years back, like nobody cares that Richard Tambling was like rated as one of the top players in the draft by everyone.
Yeah.
Not just Richmond, but yeah.
Or the Bontempelli one.
Yeah, Go back, do yourself a favour, read the Rookie Me Central profile for Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah.
I think he was compared to David Myers from Essendon, and it was silky halfback flanker who needs to win more ball on the inside.
Yeah.
That's what the vibe was. And it was seen as a reach to go for him by the Dogs. Like, well done to them, but like a reach to go up for.
Yeah.
So
but who cares if you reach for these blokes if it works? Just back yourself in.
Yeah, 100%.
The last on the list is Xavier Lindsay.
Xavier we're going with.
Xavier.
He's the
Charles.
Because he has to me, he has lack of X factor.
Lack of X factor.
Yeah, he's just very vanilla for me.
Yeah.
I said how I don't like player comparisons. He just reminds me of Billings, where he's the best kick in the draft, but just lacks anything else.
I'd actually love, now that you've said that, I'd love to go back and see the numbers that Billings was putting up. So I did a rankings.
Maybe I'm just traumatized.
You could be.
Yeah.
And that could be the Hunter Clark, Murphy Reid situation too with the Saints fans. But who am I talking about again? Lindsay. I had him back in my rankings at like 22 or something like that. I had him in the group of midfielders like Sam Marshall, Cooper Hines, just that like next bracket back. Like I didn't really see him in that top 12 group. All the mail lately has been that GWS, the Saints are super keen. I get it from the perspective, again, like the running. He's one of those players that covers the ground. Like he picks up the ball. He's got pretty good disposal. So if you put that all together, he doesn't really have like an aerial game or any of those like nice extras, or he's not a big body that you can kind of lean on any of that. So he's a bit of a, like probably what you said, like he's a bit of a vanilla option, but I might be slightly underrating him there in the 20s as well.
Yeah.
How are you on him?
I've watched about 3 minutes of him.
Good ball use.
Yeah, it was good ball use. Yeah, I didn't really because he's not big enough to kind of look like he can win a lot of.
He's not super inside.
Footy.
Yeah, he's more of an outside player.
Yeah, but also didn't seem to have a heap of X factor or speed.
No, it's not speed.
But he looks nice.
Like he'd be a like high intensity repeat effort sort of player. Like he can cover the ground and he's not quick, but I suppose in a way like a bit similar to Travalia. Because like Travalia doesn't have that power. Like he's not like an explosive runner. He's more of like a repeat runner. But then Travalia is like 190 and he's good in the air. So you get like the package is starting to look significantly better. If Lindsay just projects to be like a bit of a halfback flanker come winger, it's probably not the best deal, particularly if you're using pick 7 or 8. I think you'd be pretty comfortable at like 15, 16, 21.
Yeah, reckon he'll slip that far?
No. no, not really.
Yeah, because someone like a GWS will come in and just...
GWS. And the other one that I didn't mention was West Coast. They're pretty keen because they've got such a weird team build as well. Like they've got all these like real powerful, fast midfielders and they don't have any guys that just pick up the ball. And like Lindsay, Reid, I think they're going to be on the radar for them too. So you're probably not going to get him at 15, 16.
It's fine by me. I said that, now I'm going to have to pretend that I rated him. The reason I'm so keen to trade back is a boy called, you mentioned him before, Cooper Hines. I think he's the most underrated player in the draft.
I mocked him to the Saints recently.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, gave a little fist pump. I think he has been underrated purely because Harvey Langford's in that midfield. I know he's played at half forward, but he hasn't gotten the credit, I think. I think the prototype of Cooper Hines is everything. This is the type of draft where the best player I don't think is going to come in the top 10, or the high chance at least.
Yeah, because of the evenness.
And I think someone like Cooper Hines could come out of that.
I was thinking about him the other day, and like I did that comparison before with like Smiley, Allen, and Langford. Like Cooper Hines, like everyone's been compared to Cripps this year. Like all of those guys have been compared to Cripps. He's probably the most Cripps-like, but he's got it. Like he actually does have like a little bit of a burst of pace on him.
It's just we desperately need a goal-kicking midfielder. Yeah, he just fits that so highly. Like
he's not going to give you. Probably like the one thing that I would worry about Cooper Hines is like, what if he just ends up being like kind of like a third tall?
I get package vibes from him.
Package vibe. Well, that wouldn't be bad though, would it?
Yeah, package with the normal brain, but like, hopefully, yeah. But he's got like a low endurance base, right? Hines.
He's a pretty bad runner.
I feel like that's a big turn off for what we've been trying to do.
I'm trying to think what he did at the combine off the top of my head. Now, I don't think it was like atrocious.
Okay.
For his 2K. Like he's not rapid fast, but he's got a bit there, and like the strength obviously gives him that ability to break through. I probably worry a little bit about the lateral stuff.
Oh, okay.
With the speed, just because again, if you're starting to stock in, who are you going to take at 7 then? Like who are you going to take at 7 and 8? I think if you got him as the big body, it's probably fine, but you don't want too many guys in there that don't have that, ability to get out of traffic and stuff. And
so it's more like power in a straight line kind of thing.
Power in a straight line. And that would be my only hesitation with taking him and having him a little bit higher up the road. Just the fact that like, what if you're sort of just drafting that kind of medium hybridy forward that can run through the midfield, but like if they're not the guy, they can get lost pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. We could reunite the most dangerous partnership in talent.
I think an issue with us is that like, we are missing a link in that half forward line. So like worst comes to it, he does become just a half forward.
Yeah.
And we are missing, look, I'd rather not waste a top 20 pick on a half forward. But if he turns out just to be a half forward who can, slice it to king.
I think a way of looking at it for the Saints could be like, who do you think's more likely to project as a midfielder out of Owens and Cooper Hines? Like which one of them has more?
Well, Ross was asked about that in the year, and he said Mitchie is a power forward.
Yeah.
So I think you got to go Hines then. I can't, at least under Ross.
We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it, yeah.
Does Hines turn into like a Cam Zerha potentially as well? Is that similarity?
That's a really good comparison. It's actually like that.
Yeah. It's that is the type. Yeah, okay. 100%. Like can break tackles, win contests inside forward 50, kind of like exploit a weak matchup when you get it as that sort of third tall. So that's what he can be. I think it kind of just all comes down to who else you draft.
Yeah.
Because I reckon if you picked up Smiley with a 7 or an 8, which is seeming like reasonably likely, you probably wouldn't go for Hines then for me. You'd try to target one of those players with like better lateral movement. I'm a Taj Houghton fan.
Okay.
Can I sell anyone on Taj Houghton while we're here?
Oh, you can sell us. You don't sell the club.
So, yeah, okay. Have you guys seen the Taj?
A little bit of Taj, yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, really? Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah.
He's another one in the bracket that could be the best player in the draft purely just because he didn't play.
And the grass is so green with him as well. He's this unknown entity floating around.
100%. Like, is there a part of Saints fans that think he is his brother? Because you've had Ollie Houghton on the list and you sort of like you don't want to draft him.
I think if you're not into your draft, you probably think they're the same because a lot of brothers who do come in do end up playing very similar roles.
Play similar, yeah.
Yeah, but no, they can't be like anything like Taj is
feel
like
like that's
180. How tall is he?
He's low 180s. He's not tall, but he's so good overhead. Like he's got, he's brimming with
I thought it was tall. I thought it was on the taller end, like 180.
No, because he plays like
he just looks. He's skinny. He just looks.
He's skinny and he's so sort of like elastic.
Yeah,
with the way that he moves. Some of his. Again, you talk about that like that lateral movement and sort of like exploding away. Like he's got all of that. So many tricks in the forward half of the ground. So if you're talking about like looking at a player that could be that game winner, the one that the Saints need this guy, right? They need him. So he's. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't really see what the issue is with the brother thing.
No, I don't. The more I think about it, I don't either. Yeah, it's a professional sport. And was Ollie? It's hard to. I think. Trying to link him to having his brother's potential is pretty harsh as well.
Yeah.
Like they are different people, and I don't think Ollie was having the impact he was on under 18s.
No,
level.
I think he went pick 35.
Yeah,
something like
35
that in the end. So like, he wasn't like right up the pointy end, and like this probably also this draft's probably a little bit stronger than the one that he was in, but. Yeah, I think they're definitely different types of players, and Hotton's. You do actually see that a lot, don't you? Like the younger brother becomes because they're sort of like all in. They're playing together growing up. They kind of get just a bit more of a.
They've been beaten up in the backyard for
exactly
for 10 years in a row.
Yeah.
So if we do split the pick, I think you can pretty much guarantee one of those picks will be used on a key. The two defenders. Unless we take. I don't think we're going to get Taru because I think we're going to take. It's pretty much guaranteed. I think we're going to take a midfielder.
You guys think key defender?
I think I'd rather us take a key forward. I'm just going to touch on trainer first.
Oh, okay. We'll go to trainer.
How overblown are the concussion issues?
I don't like this.
Yeah.
I actually did this in the Q&A video that I just put out. And like, it's honestly like it's impossible. You get so much like rumor, innuendo. Like they interviewed the coach recently, Crafted the Draft, like a different channel that covered the draft. They talked to the Sandy coach. He said he's had like 4 career concussions, which you look at it that way, it doesn't sound too bad.
That's not nothing. That's a fair bit.
It's still a fair bit. And like also you got to think like the way when you look at lower level football, like is it 4 concussions? Yeah. Like that's recorded concussions as well. So there, I don't know, like there was general sort of worry, I suppose, like when he had that one in the quarterfinals, I think it was. I don't think all of the rumor has just come from the fact that he missed like the grand final as well, because there's a mandatory like 21-day period. So he missed a lot of football. And then now some people are saying like, it was just because he missed all that time. So the rumor's kind of blown up and got really big. It kind of, I don't know, it felt bigger. It seems like at the end of the day, like, am I worried about the concussion? Like, I don't know enough about concussion to be worried about it. But other clubs, like, it sounds like it.
I don't think there's any need for us to get him anyway. I don't really see the appeal, especially when we're going to take Adrian Cole. Key defender.
I don't think it's not our biggest list need. I don't see it as a need. No. You'd only be doing it like, again, if you did do that split and he's there and you go, okay, we've got this, there's a defender there that can like basically play as a full-on key defender, can intercept the ball like Battle did that you've just lost, and he's a good distributor as well. Like you could play him, like Luke Trainer, you could play literally anywhere on the field. So
you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. Like I reckon he could play. You never know like how he's going to look at AFL level, but like he could even play as a mid. Like he's that sort of like dexterous at ground level and stuff. Like he's a really good footballer. Like he'd be going, if this stuff wasn't being talked about, he'd be top 10 for sure. And
he was top 5 before all the concussion.
Yeah, 100%. Like he was going
tainted that much, has it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like who knows? Like this could be this concussion stuff. Like it could be a club who wants to get him. And they're just like planting. Like clubs have done that before, where they've just put injury info on.
I am convinced we lied about Windhager's back in his draft year.
Yeah, right.
Because all of a sudden, as soon as we drafted him, we never heard a single thing about it.
He's fine now.
Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely correct on that one.
There was actually a great story on that. I saw Dyson Heppel. He was on like the Dylan Friends podcast, and he was talking about the Essendon doctors in his draft year leaked all these X-rays of his like, and they I can't remember what it was. Like they weren't even his hips.
It was like wasn't it some old woman's or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And they leaked them and like were handing them out around recruiters, and like everybody passed him up. Yeah. So it looked like he had like 80-year-old hips.
I think the more likely outcome is that we, with pick 16 or even pick 8, we draft a key forward. The big talk is Harry Armstrong in terms of the best key forward in the draft. I don't think he's the out and out best key forward in the draft. Not at all.
No, I agree.
Not to be as big of a gap as there is between him and.
I still in my rankings. I still have him as the best key forward. I don't sort of think of any of the key forwards. You have this absolutely outstanding player even Armstrong, who he's kicked some bags, but you got to remember he plays the two clubs that he plays for, the Dragons, who are dominant as you can possibly be in a league, and Vic Metro, who are the top team. So he gets pretty good service. He does some don't get me wrong, he's got some really good things about him, the contested marking, and he can also kick the ball 60 meters, and he's pretty lethal from outside 50. So that's a big. That's a big positive.
Was it your knock? I saw him the other week that he doesn't work up the ground much.
He doesn't get many touches.
Yeah, I don't think I don't want someone like that with Max King.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. You got to look at that. You got to look at who else you've got. Max King's pretty stay at home, right? Yeah. So you can't have two forwards, and forwards just not moving.
And will he give another effort below his knees as well?
He's decent. I'd say his ground level stuff, he's 195. Yeah, it's reasonable. And if you actually look at him, he sort of looks like more of a running forward, but he doesn't. Yeah, doesn't do it for whatever
Nathan
reason.
Was shaking his head.
Yeah, I disagree. I think his groundwork is shocking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think if you put him and King in the forward line and the ball goes to ground, it's going to be a circus act.
Yeah, okay.
That's actually my knock on him. Is I think as soon as the ball hits the ground, he's pretty useless.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the fact of the having King. You can't have two. You've got to have a more athletic forward to be able to get up the ground. In that sense, I'd be going for someone like a Jack Whitlock.
Okay,
who's just I'm almost starting to come around to him being my favourite key position forward in this draft.
Mine is Shanahan.
Okay.
I rate him very highly.
What do you like?
He's just a deadeye and he's a terrific marker. What else do you want more in
Yeah, he's very
and he's also I think he's kind of not to comparing, but kind of like Max. His defensive work is nil. It needs to work on his chasing and his tackling.
It's funny. Everyone asks me about the draft crop and they say what's the defensive work like of this player? None of them defend.
No,
none of these players. They're the best players in their team. They just get the ball.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Everyone forgets that, don't they?
Two I don't know a whole lot about is Fall and Sims. Okay. Tell me about Jonty Fall.
Jonty Fall is a different type of forward. It's all other ones we talked about. He's more of I would call him a power forward. If you get what I mean by that, as in he's sort of just he does get up the ground. He's not a clean marker of the ball. He's not absolutely flushing it like Harry Armstrong, highest point. He's getting to contests and he's competing and fighting at ground level. Pretty mobile. Someone that you'd really want to use. I think he's a perfect kind of second tall.
Yep.
Someone that can be a target, never really loses one-on-ones, but doesn't necessarily win them outright, if that makes sense. So if you've got a bunch of a mosquito fleet on the ground that are sniffing around, you get it into him. So a bit of a system player for Fall. And then the other one you said was Sims.
Yeah.
Sims is interesting. He's 200, so he's really tall. He's taller than a lot of these other guys that we've talked about.
Is he just a key forward or?
Well, that's the thing. For Northern Knights, he's played as a ruck. So then there's that question of what is he? I don't think he's really tall enough to be a number one ruck. So then he's going to be playing in the forward line. He's really athletic, but you don't necessarily see all of that athleticism on the field, I would say. So he's definitely more of a the ones that we're talking about at that front end. Sims is more of a project, someone that you'd have to get up to speed. He's had some really big games in the Coates League, kicked 7 goals and 5 goals in games with pretty soft matchups. If he doesn't have an opponent, he'll kill you. But did, to be fair, played for Metro and he was pretty good in some of the games there as well, kicked multiple goals in 2 or 3 games there. So he's good. He's not a sure thing. He's not in that sort of top group and one that you'd put a bit of time into and see how he goes.
Okay. We were spending a solid 10 minutes shitting on the academies and father sons. Let's talk about this is probably the one draft where we shouldn't. Adrian Cole. We'll talk about how we shouldn't really look at taking Trainer or Tyru because very similar. Well, I guess Cole's more of your lockdown.
Positional similarities.
It's still a key defender, but it's not the same player.
Not the same, but would we really take 2 of them? I don't think so.
I think so my opinion on that, I think if the right pick came up for Trainer, you'd still do it.
Yeah.
Because you're getting you have a key defender, right? You've got Cole. Cole can do everything one-on-one. Like he can take a key position player, like a really good key position player, completely out of the game, but he can't kick.
Yeah.
He's one of the worst kicks. He's like a press trigger.
Yeah.
You know, like if he's got the ball, like everyone's going for him to try to, disrupt the team. So, and that's what I talk about with Trainer. Like he can actually use the footy like a halfback. So if you can find a player that has all of those traits, I think like what Cole is really good at is just being that like absolute pillar.
Yep.
At the middle of your back line. You don't have to worry about him and he takes like a gorilla out of the game. That's what Adrian Cole is.
Yeah, okay, that was my question. Do you reckon he's going to be big enough to take on the gorillas?
Yeah, that's the question. I think he's like 195. Like,
I saw the Sandy coach said he he referred to him as 197, but he was still 194. So
yeah, there's always
a bit of Kevin Durant.
Yeah, there's stuff flying around. Is he big enough? Like, I don't think being 195 is the deterrent. Like whether when he gets to the AFL level, whether he'll be able to keep up with the competitiveness of those players, like that's a different conversation. I don't think someone at 195 is too short though. Like I think they can take someone that's 200, and Cole's got athleticism. Like he can fight like in a wrestle, and he can also kind of like jump at the ball as well. So yeah, I don't think so. Like short answer.
Yeah, I think you can afford to have one bloke who can't kick. I look at Sam Taylor.
Good example.
He can't kick.
Yeah.
But he obviously impacts the game by just being an incredible one-on-one defender. So
And
you have to be at that. Well, no, you have to be taking the big gorilla, I think, to be able to justify not being able to kick.
Yeah, 100%. And like probably what you do around him will be really important with players. Like he'll probably, like when he gets to AFL level, he'll have to develop some sort of an intercept game as well, like Sam Taylor has, just to be a little bit more of a multifaceted player, because otherwise you can't. If you're just taking a key forward out of the game, you can be a little bit limited, and you're just sort of a role player at the end of the day.
The other two, Cole's really the main one who's probably going to get bid on. You have another one in Hoffman who's more of your intercepting defender, and then we were talking before. We think Peck is just going to get through to the rookie, because if they don't get bid on, you just rookie them straight away.
Yep.
So there are other two. Guy, quickly, what is your? If you could, realistically, if you could pick one player that is just guaranteed to get to the Saints, in a realistic sense.
Draft-wise?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to talk about Hoffman or Peckett?
We're hitting nearly an hour, so we should probably...
No, shit.
Have we been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So, firstly, Lennox Hoffman's like a strong name.
It's a wonderful name. He's got like a Swiss background.
Is that? I was going to. Okay, Swiss. Is that how he's gone into the academy?
Believe so. That was his entry into it. Like I'm actually a massive fan of Hoffman. I prefer Hoffman to Cole.
I'm watching them. I do as well, because a lot of the time when defenders come into the comp, they've played as midfielders their whole junior career. Yeah, and that's not what he's done at all. He's actually got really good defensive instincts.
He does. He's good one-on-one. Can intercept the ball. And there's a bit of, with his running, he's actually a really good 2K time trialer again. And there's a little bit of the Toby Travalia. Angus Clark is another one in this draft from South Australia at running the ball out of defense as well. So he's not just he's not just going to be like an interceptor or a lockdown player. He's actually going to be able to give you a bit of drive as well. So I think he's got more, again, talk about that. He's got more upside than someone like a Cole, different positionally, obviously. But
the reason he's kind of projected where he is a bit further back is maybe just his size is a bit in between. Is that the main deterrent?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. If you put him up against other similar type players, I think you do find that those middle of the road players, like third tall defenders, third tall forwards, that type of role, you can get slept on a little bit. Another one is Lockie Jakes from the Geelong Falcons. He's a bit smaller, so it's probably more playing against him again than a Lennox Hoffman. But yeah, they just sort of get, I think clubs don't exactly know what they're going to be. Are they going to be tall enough to be a defender at that, such a small height?
Yeah.
And then, if you don't think they can be a midfielder or a winger or something like that, you might get a bit stuck with them.
Yeah. Back to the question. We'll go on a bit of a tangent. One player. In a realistically.
Who falls to us at any
pick. It could be from pick 7, it could be 15, 16. If you could just...
I'll just back up what I said before.
Is this what you think?
No,
just if you could just... What you want.
Okay.
I'll just back up what I said before. I love Murphy Reid.
Yeah. I think...
He forget the charts and the stats. He captured my imagination.
Yeah. And that's part of it, isn't it? I went to a game and watched Finn O'Sullivan when he played the VFL. He had 12 touches. And I was just I was captivated by this guy. Like there was electricity at Punt Road where we were watching the game. I think like sometimes it is a bit like how the player actually makes you feel. My pick to the Saints.
Yeah.
I'm going Bo Allen. Bo Allen, Taj Houghton.
Okay.
I think one of those players gets to the. Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Mine would be Cooper Hines. I love him.
Yeah, that.
Dill, thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram and YouTube at Dylan Alexander Follows Draft. Didn't really come up with a innovative name there, so stuck with that.
Guy, you can go back to your bounce. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll
keep studying tape.
We'll around February.
I did lives with Ben Dixon this weekend. I had flights to research I did, yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Tune in. That's when the draft is. Night.
I'm live streaming that actually.
So make sure you tune into that.
Yeah, check it out.
Everyone.